Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 1146. Hello, I'm Mike Matthews, broadcasting from Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro, Valentino. Today we hear from Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, the Brewmaster PLUS, the return of the much-loved news segment called the FM Project, which FM stands for
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Fecal matter. No. Fascinating material. That's what we're doing.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
So you take it on the run, baby. If that's the way you want it, baby, then I don't want you around. Wait, I got a little sidetracked with some REO Speedwagon. I went to a cool town called Benicia yesterday with my dog, and we walked around, and there were people playing Pokemon Go.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I asked someone, are you catching any Pokemon? You know, which when I asked someone that at the San Leandro Marina,
Mike's
I got a person looking at me
Daily
like I was some kind of insane
Podcast.
old man. But this guy that I talked to at Benicia, right by the water, he said, yeah. And I go, oh, do you catch, because we were on a pier, I go, do you catch them on this pier, the Pokemons? And he said, yeah, in fact, you can catch some specific water Pokemon when you're on this particular pier. I drove down all the way from Vacaville just to be in Benicia. Isn't that fascinating? I love Benicia so much. I go there, I went there last on the 4th of July. I had done an early shift. Usually I work on the weekend. And yesterday I worked from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and at 2 p.m. I got to go home and take a nap and then take my dog at 4 o'clock up to Benicia. Mike, this is the most boring stuff I've ever heard. What a boring podcast. No, it's not. Because I want to tell you, Benicia's an interesting town. Used to be our capital in California. Lots of people there having a good time, and I overheard the following as I was walking Basil the Boxer. I would like to share with you a story I heard. So I'm walking Basil, and all of a sudden we're walking past this cool restaurant in an old building, you know, with the exposed brick and all that. And oh, look who just walked in. Hi, Mark. It's Benita, the rodeo queen. How y'all doing?
It's a Disgruntled Fiddle Player, tell you what.
What?
I hear there's a rodeo going on there at rodeo grounds near Podcastro Valley.
Yeah, at the Rowell Ranch Rodeo Grounds. There's a rodeo today. Lots of horses and stuff, which, by the way, horses, I did not realize this. I was listening to another awesome podcast called Backstory. Yes, in saying that sentence, I was making the assumption that this podcast is awesome. But the wonderful podcast called Backstory was discussing detritus, garbage, in their most recent episode. And they were talking about how in early New York, like we're talking early 1800s New York, that pigs ran wild through the streets, and they actually served a function. The pigs ate everything that was trash. People used to just throw their trash out in front of their residences, and the pigs went along and just ate everything that was organic, and some non-organic stuff they ate. And then these pigs actually belonged to people, and the pigs would, I guess, come home, and the people would eat the pigs. Oh, look who else. This is what they said on Backstory. It's so bizarre. Look who else just walked in.
Hello, Mike. I make the root beer. I'm the brewmaster. Oh, boy. I make a delicious pig earth beer.
You don't make any root beer now. All you do is live in the root beer vat.
That's true. I want a pig.
No, you can't have a pig. You can't have Basil either.
Oh, man.
Basil was tired after all the walking yesterday in Benicia, that's for sure.
Mark, go on with your story about the pigs and the rodeo and the horses and whatnot.
Sorry, Disgruntled Fiddle Player, yes. So, oh, by the way, I talked to someone yesterday who plays the violin. And I think I recruited her to listen to the show, so perhaps she's listening now. Hi, Angela Lee. She has an interesting name, and I probably said it wrong. But so, yeah, you play the fiddle.
I used to play the fiddle, but it made me angry. Thus, I am disgruntled, the disgruntled fiddle player.
It's a tricky instrument to play, the fiddle.
Tell you what.
What?
Finish your story about the pigs.
Oh, yeah, so they're walking around New York eating stuff, and people, there's a worry that all the disease that's happening in New York is from the smell, because pigs smell. They're figuring that the pigs have the disease, so they round up all the pigs, and they leave New York, and now we've got just trash in New York, and people get disease, even more disease from that, and they die. At one point, they were throwing all their trash into the Hudson River, and they said at one point the Hudson River was so full of trash, and one of the things that people threw out a lot were horses. Yes, horses. They just chucked the dead horses into the river. And I guess it makes sense that there was a lot of horses because people used horses for so many reasons back then. It wouldn't be until later, several decades later, but not much later, that immigrants came up with methods for turning dead horses into soap. And thus people were clean and not smelly anymore, and New York didn't smell anymore. The end. But horses, pigs, see how it all's connected? Trash, detritus, horses, rodeos.
Mark, I'm very confused.
Mark, he's very confused all the time, because he's right-handed.
What does that have to do?
Left-handed people are smart, like me.
Oh, that's right. Actually, next weekend is going to be Left-Handers Day, a special holiday. I think it's next Sunday, in honor of people that are left-handed. A week from today, actually. Yeah.
Mark, I'm left-handed.
Yeah, you said that already. I guess left-handed people also like to brag about the fact that they're left-handed. Kind of like the people that say that they're part of Mensa, that they have the high IQ. They got to tell everyone that they have a high IQ, even though, people hate them when they say that, and they think that they're douches, and who cares if you have a high IQ if you're still a douche. Anyway, Benicia is a wonderful town, so check it out. And as I was walking, Basil, I heard this interesting couple, this beautiful couple, young, beautiful woman, good-looking guy, and they just leave this restaurant. I'm right ahead of them with Basil the boxer, and I hear the girl say, "We have so much fun together," she says to the guy. "We have so much fun together. I mean, we don't have to go to the city all the time," meaning San Francisco, for all you people not outside of the Bay Area. "I mean, we can go to Benicia and go to this cool restaurant." And then the guy says, "You have a nice butt," to the woman. Only he didn't say butt. He used a more colorful word. She didn't say anything for a couple seconds. Then he said something like, it's nicely shaped, he said. And I'm hearing this. I'm walking in front of them hearing this. He's not talking about mine. He's talking about hers. And then she says, "Oh, what a cute dog," talking about Basil. This actually happened yesterday, and that's why you listen to this podcast, because I share these bizarre things that happen to me with you.
Mark, that's great. I got a nice butt, too. Bye, derriere.
Wonderful. All right, well, by the way, some of the hottest women I have ever seen are at the local mall, not too far away from where I work, in Pleasanton on the weekend. There's the Stone Ridge Mall, and it's pretty hard to walk through there and not have your head turn and go, wow. There are beautiful women in that mall. As there are on Fridays at my other job in Fremont. There's a woman that does a show in the afternoon on Friday, and she brings in some very beautiful ladies that are mostly all of her friends who she interviews on the air, and they're all very amazing, smart, powerful women that are starting companies. I talked to this amazing woman who was also a CEO and a doctor, and she said that to me, that she was a CEO and a doctor, but she did not say she was part of Mensa, which was good. And I was, wow. So To sum up, I've met a lot of beautiful women lately. Horses should not be thrown into the river when they die. They should be made into soap after an appropriate mourning period. And Benicia's a cool town. And that's pretty much it. If you'd like to see past podcast pictures... Oh, speaking of today's podcast picture...
And here's today's podcast picture.
It has you in it, Disgruntled Fiddle Player.
Yeah, but we ain't talking about Menza or my wife's beautiful derriere.
No, we're not talking about Benita's derriere. We're talking about the Olympics that are going on right now. Apparently, the U.S. is doing well, and Russia is not doing so well. They've been banned because of all the drugs they do.
Yeah, well, that's understandable. But I don't hate the Russians anymore because Trump loves the Russians, and so I must love them too because I love Trump.
You know, it's not that I hate Trump. I hate the people that complain about people making fun of Trump. They get all defensive. And I hate that double standard. You know, people can, like, these same people are fine with making fun of Hillary, ripping Hillary every chance they get. But, like, it reminds me of the era of the mid-O's when everybody got down on the Dixie Chicks for saying their little sentence about George W. Bush. I mean, they totally came down on it. The Dixie Chicks were ostracized. They stopped playing them on the radio. It was horrible for them. Go see Shut Up and Sing, a fantastic documentary about that era. Yet, these same people that said exactly that about the Dixie Chicks, about how horrible they are the same people that have said unbelievable things about Obama. And unbelievable things about Clinton. Hypocrites. I'm looking at you, Phil Grandy. Grandy meaning big idiot. Anyway, not that I'm political in any way. Or I just have this thing about hypocrites. Which I know. I wander into hypocrisy. We all do. It's an easy thing to wander into. But dang it, you need to call it out when you see it sometimes, is all I'm saying.
I love Trump.
All right, okay.
I mean, I want to stroke his beautiful hair.
Okay, all right. That's enough.
I'll tell you what.
What?
He's beautiful.
Yeah, but Ivanka is even hotter.
Whatever.
Anyway, all that can be found at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com, including the podcast picture, which is of the Disgruntled Fiddle Player and I discussing the Olympics. All right, so check that out, MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Also, if you'd like to help support the show, God knows why you'd want to do that. But if you're like going to be shopping on Amazon, just go through MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST.com and that Amazon link. And if you do that one extra step, that helps us out. It helps support us. And it's your way of saying, thanks, Mike, for doing a podcast every day. And then I say you're welcome. And then there's a PayPal if you'd like to donate to the show. You'll get a special greeting from all the Cafe Anyway characters. And there's also the podcast picture and, past interviews that I've done with some interesting musicians and other folk. All that can be found at MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST.com. But now, it's time for the FM Project.
The Fascinating Material Project.
FM Project.
Well, we haven't quite left the topic of politics because this is an interesting story, a fascinating bit of material. Groups of wealthy Republicans unhappy with Donald Trump,
I'm really rich,
have been privately courting prominent peers. There's a lot of P's in that. A lot of plosives. To join them in backing Hillary Clinton's U.S. presidential bid. This apparently, according to Reuters, they say they are seeking money and endorsements from other Republicans disillusioned by Trump, the party's candidate for the November 8th presidential election. Which, once again, it's weird. Why isn't it on November 1st? I thought it was the first day of November, the first Tuesday in November, and the first Tuesday in November this year is November 1st. I don't get it. I don't know. Maybe they'll tell me on Backstory. Along with why dead horses were floating in the Hudson River. I feel bad about the dead horses. But let's move on, shall we? Some have received encouragement from Clinton and members of her campaign staff. Dan Webb, a former federal prosecutor and self-described Republican for decades, he said, I made the decision that I wouldn't be able to look at my grandkids if I voted for Trump. and he's working to win over prominent Republican business people in Chicago. Trump, a New York developer making his first run at public office. Thanks, Reuters, for summing up Trump in like 10 words. Wow. Okay. You can also add a reality TV star, writer of books that sold several copies. Apparently, he's a really good deal maker. Has made traditional Republican donors uneasy with inflammatory statements about women, Mexicans, Muslims, and war veterans. Big-name Wall Street donors can make a difference for Clinton. They could inject big money into a campaign. They might influence moderate Republicans to switch sides. Their support of Clinton challenges Trump's assertion that his business successes make him a better candidate for president. With the political conventions over, the Republican effort to fundraise for Clinton is at an early stage. Some of the groups have yet to receive contributions because they must still file paperwork under campaign financial rules. Trump spokeswoman Hope Hicks. That's Hope Hicks, everyone. Hope Hicks. Because you have to be able to say a name like Hope Hicks. 2 H's. That's a cool name, Hope Hicks. Did I tell you I like the name Hope Hicks? Hope declined to comment for this story from Reuters. Clinton spokesman Jesse Ferguson, however, said business leaders are supporting Clinton because of their economic plan and because Trump cannot be trusted to lead our economy. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing you like Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley.
Mike, it's Mikey Fikey. Great.
I cannot say enough about how Suicide Squad has smashed records. I cannot tell you enough how much I don't care about comic book movies anymore. I do not care about that. Someone I work with, he has to go see every comic book movie as soon as it comes out. He told me the nice thing about him is he completely tells me the plot. He goes, "Are you sure you want me to ruin it for you?" And I'm like, "Ruin away, because I ain't going to go see that movie." So he told me the complete story of Suicide Squad, and all I can say is, who cares? And all those characters were on the CW show Arrow. So I feel like I've seen, and I was hooked on the first 2 seasons of Arrow. Now I can't stand it. It was Arrow, I think, that ruined me against comic book movies. This all part of my review.
Mike's absolutely useless review.
I mean, it was just, I get so sick of the soap opera. And I feel like it doesn't challenge me. All it does is shower me with violence and people in tights. I don't need it anymore. I'm done. If you feel as if you disagree with me, I would love to hear from you. We have this wonderful segment called...
Oh my God!
Email for email and your calm and not so comments.
I would love to hear your calm and not so comments. Please email me, MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com, or you can also comment at my Facebook, my Twitter, my Instagram, all of those at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. You can find links to all those. Well, when I leave work today in Pleasanton, I'm going to go back through the Stone Ridge Mall and see a bunch of beautiful women of all shapes, sizes, ages, and etc. And it's going to make me happy that I live in the world today and that Ivanka Trump is going to someday become president. That'll be an interesting day. I will applaud that day. Oh, really quick. I was mentioning my job in Fremont. It's a talk station. One of the talk show hosts, he sends us his show like the day before, right? It's a recorded show. And part of my job is to get it on the air, right? So I've got it on the air. I'm listening to it play, and I hear him bash our radio station. And then I'm kind of thinking, why the heck did I put this on the... Well, so that was interesting. Or not.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!
Next show, Madame Rootabega, Valentino, Bison Bentley. Yeah.